create a thriving workplace culture. If you want to learn more about this, go check out our e-learning series, Creating Culture, on our website, corporatedojo.com. What I'm going to share with you in this video are the things that matter most. The starting point is to understand that leadership is everything. So creating your culture is not something that you can outsource to a consultant. It's not something you can delegate to an HR department. The ways in which every leader in your organization behaves is mission critical. So this is about setting the tone. It's about setting the example. It's incredibly difficult to hold other people accountable to behaviors that they're not consistently seeing from the leaders that they work with every day. If you are the CEO or the business owner, your starting point is to make sure that you have leaders in your business who are able to behave in ways that, again, are going to create that thriving environment. So some of the most important values that you need to be focused on if you want your team to thrive is the starting point is respect. You know, people need to feel psychologically safe. They need to feel like they can be themselves, that they can give things a go, that, you know, this is an environment where they are genuinely valued and treated with respect and decency. You need leaders in your team that behave that way, that treat people that way, that actually think about their team as essential to driving the organisation's outcomes and recognising that the spirit of your team is going to make a big difference. So in other words, if people feel energised, if they feel engaged, if they feel passionate about the organisation, they're more likely to be their best, they're more likely to succeed as a team. People don't feel those ways if, as a starting point, they don't feel that sense of being valued and respected. Leaders, how they set expectations, how they behave, what they make matter ultimately from a mindset and behaviour perspective is going to be the most important driver of your culture. To that end, I encourage you to invest in your leaders' abilities, invest in their emotional intelligence, invest in their ability to communicate respectively, constructively, invest in their ability to engage in conversations around performance, help them to be good at coaching their people to grow and to ultimately adopt the mindsets and behaviours that are most likely to allow them and the rest of the team to be successful. To help you to be really clear as a leadership team, as well as to obviously send really consistent messages to your whole team around what matters most from a behaviour perspective, I encourage you to spend time thinking about your core values. Your core values are the things that you want to make sure are consistently reflected in how you go about your day-to-day, how you run the business. So for every organisation, those core values will be slightly different depending on what environment you're trying to create. I'm also a passionate believer that values should be challenged over time. Many organisations will have core values that remain the same over many, many years, and for some that may work. But in my mind, the purpose of our values is to align people around what matters most at this point in time. So some of those values might always be there. So respect, for example, or integrity may always be a part of what we want to be telling our team is important. But there might be other values that at certain points in time are more important. For example, you might want to take your business to a whole other level in terms of being able to compete in your market. Therefore, you might say for a period of time that innovation is super important. We need to put that up in headlights. We need to spotlight that as a focus for our leaders and our team. That can obviously then help you to make sure that when you're recruiting people into the business, or you're inducting people, or you are setting expectations, that again you have appropriate level of focus on that value or that set of mindsets and behaviours that you need. I encourage you to get your team involved. I encourage you to identify whether it's 3, 4, 5, I don't recommend any more than that, but 3 to 5 core values under which you can then start to clearly articulate what does that actually look like in action. So if we say we value accountability, what does that actually mean? What does it look like to have accountability? If we say we value quality, what does it actually look like? If we value teamwork, what does that actually look like? So knowing what the behaviour is that is reflective of the value or the series of behaviours is an important tool for you and other leaders in the business to then be able to clearly articulate that to the members of your team. Then what I strongly encourage is that you actually make your values matter. So what do I mean by that? We need to be rewarding, recognizing the behaviors that we actually want more of. One of the biggest mistakes we can make when it comes to creating our culture is to reward and recognize people who are behaving in ways that are not aligned. So a really common example of this is somebody might be achieving their KPIs, they might be achieving the outcomes, but they're behaving in ways that undermine the rest of the team. So they might be a high performer in terms of outcomes, but behaving in ways that are disrespectful, undermining the spirit of the rest of your team. Again, that moment when we choose, are we going to reward and recognise that person or not, is absolutely key. You only want to showcase and hold up as an example the people that you want others to follow in terms of their conduct. So making sure that we are rewarding, recognising the right stuff, but then obviously the flip side of that equation is to make sure that we're addressing the behaviours that are not aligned. So we want to make sure that we are engaging in honest conversation about behaviour, that we have the courage to actually hold people accountable. So one of the most courageous things I see leaders do at times is choosing to go down a performance management path with that person that they believe is important to their business because they have, specialised technical knowledge, or, it's difficult to actually replace that person in the market because of the experience that they bring. So it can be, as I say, a challenging decision. It can take courage to actually go, no, we absolutely believe that our culture is the difference between being ordinary and awesome in terms of our business's performance. Therefore, we're not allowing an individual, regardless of the standard of what outcomes they bring, so whether that's revenue or whatever other results that you want, regardless of who that person is, regardless of their CV, we're going to hold everybody consistently accountable to the same standards of behaviour. If you're not willing to do that, you're going to really struggle to deliberately create that cultural environment. So making sure that we are addressing things as soon as they become an issue. So a couple of weeks ago, I was working with an organisation who had been in the market for 6 months to hire somebody into their team. It was super hard to find somebody with the right CV or the right background. Within the person's probationary period, they were already starting to behave in ways that were undermining the rest of the team. So they were being rude, they were being aggressive, they were being quite obnoxious, if I can put it just really simplistically. It was really clear that this person's attitude was going to be a major barrier to them contributing to the extent that they could if they had mindsets and behaviours that were actually going to facilitate collaboration, going to facilitate successful relationships with other people in the team. So that client had the courage to call it. Within their probationary period, they made the decision that we've made a mistake, we need to go back to market, we need to find the right person with the right behaviours. So that speaks to what I think is perhaps one of the most important. So I would put leadership as number one on this list, but then I would say it's actually recruitment. So hiring or recruitment is the backbone of your people strategy. If you are getting the wrong people into your business to start with, good luck and may the force be with you. Everything gets hard from there. So make sure that you are very clear when you're assessing candidates, when you're meeting prospective employees, that you're zeroing in on who is this person, how are they going to go about doing their job, what influence are they going to bring to the rest of the team. So make sure that you are obviously including interviewing questions, absolutely, to assess culture. But in my experience, it's actually about observing that person in every interaction. So how do they engage with you on the phone if you're doing a phone screen? How do they turn up and behave in your office environment? Do they treat your receptionist with respect? There are lots of moments in which you can observe how somebody is likely to be. Who are they as a person, not just what are their skills and experience that they can bring. If you ever meet someone in a hiring process and you think to yourself, I'm really not sure that this person aligns with us, then do yourself a favour, and listen to that gut instinct. Recognize that if your instinct is that this doesn't quite feel right, then there's a very big possibility that there is something that's not aligned. Don't compromise. Don't talk yourself into hiring somebody when you're really not certain how they're going to behave. If you do choose to run that gauntlet and bring them into your business, then again, make sure that you are willing to call it early if you've got it wrong. So in my mind, the recruitment process is finished at the end of probation. It's not the day this person actually walks into your business. In Australia, obviously, we have a probationary period of employment, and in many other regions, you will have the same, where you have an opportunity to assess this person in action and to determine whether or not you've made the right decision in terms of the person and their attitudes. So to sum all of that up, starts with leaders. Make sure that leaders are bringing the mindsets and behaviours that are a good example. Let's make sure we're super clear on what our core values are and what they look like in actions. So what are those behaviours that reflect our core values? Make sure we're rewarding and recognising the people and therefore the mindsets and behaviours that we want more of. Let's make sure that we are keenly focused on cultural alignment through our hiring processes. Let's make sure we're addressing issues as soon as we see them come up, that we're actually all over it, we're engaging in coaching conversations, and we're making sure that people understand what is expected of them, what will be accepted, what won't be tolerated. So as I said earlier, if you'd like to learn more about how to drive the culture of your business, go check out our e-learning programs or obviously other videos on our YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. If you've enjoyed this video, then press that like and subscribe button. And add comments as well. Let us know what are some of the things that you do to drive the culture of your team. And of course, if you've got any questions, throw those in there as well, and see what we can do to do another video to help you to understand whatever questions you might have. Thanks for joining.